What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to a model airplane review. It's your host, Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the NG model 1:400 scale JetBlue Airways Airbus A321 in the new JetBlue livery. In this video, I'll do a review of the model and its features, and at the end of the video, I will give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. The box is made from a thick cardstock material. It measures 14 centimeters for the length and height, and 4 centimeters wide. I'll show you around the box now. So this is the front here. It's the bottom. Right side. Top. Left side. And the back side. Included in the box is the model fully assembled, painted, and ready to display, as well as an NG model collector rewards program card. I'm going to give you a quick 360 of the model before I begin my review. The fuselage length for this model is 11.3 centimeters, the wingspan is 8.3 centimeters, and from the ground to the top of the vertical stabilizer, this model is 3 centimeters tall. This is accurate to 1:400 scale. This model is made primarily out of die-cast metal. Let's discuss the fuselage first. So the fuselage on this model is quite good. We're going to start at the nose section of the aircraft. The nose profile on this model is great. It accurately reflects the Airbus A321 nose pretty well. NG model has a great 1:400 scale A320 family mold, so this is to be expected from them. There's nothing out of the ordinary here. Detail is definitely not lacking up here as well, and I'm going to move down the fuselage so you can get a good look at all the detail. Overall, printed detail seems to be pretty consistent. Painted detail on the forward section of the fuselage, there's really not that much to go around there. It's just the blue paint, which looks pretty good. My camera is showing a darker color than what is actually the color on the model, so apologies for that. But the color looks good, and overall paint application, printed detail application, and just the fuselage itself, all of that looks really good so far. There is really nothing to complain about. Here's the vertical stabilizer. I've turned up the exposure so you can see more accurate colors. This is more like what's actually on the model. The vertical stabilizer is very nicely detailed. There is a lot of molded panel line detail, which is excellent to see, and that looks accurate. The shape looks good as well. Paint application and printed detail application. I'm not sure if these squares here are painted or printed. Either way, they look pretty good. I do notice some slight imperfection there, but that's pretty negligible, so I won't hold that against NG. Now I'm going to show the right side of the fuselage. The right side is pretty much the same as the left side. So everything I've said about the left side can also be said about the right side. So far, we're off to a really strong start with this model. It's pretty good so far. So I seem to have spotted the first imperfection that I can point out on this model. Here on the capital B in the JetBlue title, I do see that some of the white printing here got a little bit messed up. Not by much, but it is a small imperfection that I found. Moving on to the wings on this model. The wings on this model are quite nicely detailed. There is lots of detail in many different ways. We have molded detail in the form of the control surfaces on both the leading and trailing edge. These are all clearly defined, and I do not see paint filling in any of those, which is quite nice. Paint application looks good. There is two different colors here on the wing. There's the gray, and then there is the silver on the leading edge. That looks pretty nice. And printed detail, we have some on here, and it seems to be pretty good and consistent. Same story with the right wing. There appears to be no inconsistencies with any of the detail application. So very good quality so far. Under the wings, there isn't that much detail, but there isn't that much to put down there either, so do not take that as a complaint. Now, NG made this reviewing process so much easier by allowing me to detach the left wing here. My model unfortunately arrived broken. So yeah, here is a view of the left wing if you wanted to see it in its entirety. And actually, I'm going to use this to my advantage to talk about the sharklets. So the sharklets on this model, they're not the greatest. I think they are angled a little bit too straight up. Not by much though, they're not terrible. And the shape could be improved a little bit, I think. Just, yeah, something about, or that might be due to the painting, but yeah, the sharklets on this model, they're not perfect, but they are by no means inaccurate or terrible. So, yeah, draw your own conclusions with that, though. So, yeah, there is the left wing. Now, with regards to the brake, I'm not too upset about it because on my particular model, I was very lucky to have what I call a clean brake, meaning that none of the paint was chipped or taken off with the part. So if I were, which I'm going to try to reattach it, if I were to reattach it, if I can reattach it, there we go, you can barely tell, or you actually cannot tell that it was broken, which that almost never happens with these models, so I'm very glad that it broke in this way. Let's move to the rear of the aircraft. Here we can see the horizontal stabilizers. These are also really nicely detailed, like the wings and the vertical stabilizer. I have nothing to complain about. That is, they look very nice. Okay, well actually I do see a few paint smudges here, small imperfections, but nothing major. APU looks pretty good as well. There you can see it's got a bit of an indentation for the exhaust, and it's painted a nice metallic silver color. Here were the white paint joints. You can see where the white paint does layer over the blue. A small imperfection as well. We see this on die-cast airliners a lot. And here's the underside. Underside looks pretty good. Something I'd like to draw your attention to is the symmetry of these little mint squares here. They are pretty much perfectly symmetrical, which, as someone who prefers symmetry, I really like that. I really am glad that NG took the time to make sure they got the alignment right. Moving on to the engines on this model. The engines on this model are quite nicely detailed. Here you can see the side view. The engine profile is accurate. It's mounted correctly, not at an angle or anything, and detail application on the engines is quite good. Here's what the bottom of the engines look like. You can see the engine strakes are present on both sides of both engines, so at least NG didn't screw up my engine strakes on this model. And here's what the fan blades look like. They're painted a nice metallic silver color. Overall, they look pretty good. Something I didn't show you there is a small Jetblue title right here. It appears to be slightly distorted, but it's a tiny logo, so I won't hold that against NG. Moving on to aerial details, this model features antennas and sat domes. Here is one of the larger antennae at the front of the aircraft. This looks pretty good, no complaints about it. And I'm going to move towards the rear of the aircraft now. Here is the sat dome. Yes, I can fit everything in one frame. Yes, okay, barely. All right, so we have a sat dome here, a larger antenna, and then a smaller antenna. All of these look pretty good. The sat dome is attached what appears to be almost dead center on the aircraft. I do see a slight tilt here and there, but it's nothing terrible. And the antennas are also at slight angles, but not by much. And they are firmly attached to the aircraft, and I haven't seen any reports of these antennas coming loose. And here is the last antenna. It's this one singular antenna on the bottom of the aircraft. It's one of the larger antennas that is on the top of the aircraft. They're pretty much identical. No complaints about this one either. It looks pretty good. Now we find ourselves at the bottom of the aircraft. It is also very nicely detailed down here too. There is a lot of printed detail to go around, even though it's rather hard to see. Given the blue fuselage and just the livery of this aircraft, it is quite interesting, if I must say so myself. But detail down here is definitely not lacking either, and we have our giant Jetblue title in the middle of the display stand hold right there, so definitely lots of detail down here. Let's discuss the landing gear on this model. I'll talk about the main landing gear first. Landing gear on this model is very nice. You can see it's pretty nicely detailed. I do see some spots where, okay, just kidding. I was going to say the gaps in between some of the struts are filled in with metal. I do see that with other manufacturers though, so I won't complain about it. But on this model, this is not the case. Or actually, yes, it is. Down here, if the camera would focus. There we go. So on this one, the gap between the strut and, well, the rest of the gear does appear to be a little bit filled. It's a minor thing, so I won't complain about it too much. The wheels are made out of rubber and they do roll, and they are mounted at an acceptable angle here. So main gear look good. The nose gear is also pretty nice. It does appear to be bent slightly forwards, but not by much. The wheel does roll as well, and it is made out of rubber. The detail on this is accurate, and it looks pretty good as well. Time for a good old-fashioned steering contest. The engine clearance looks good. Wing flex of both the main wings and the horizontal stabilizers look good. Gear balance seems to be mostly balanced. Cockpit window printing might be a little bit off to the side a little bit, but not by much. Vertical stabilizer seems to be mounted at the correct angle as well. Everything looks pretty good up here. That's the end of my review. Now time for my personal opinion and recommendation. So this model is very nicely detailed, and quality seems to be pretty good. However, NG's quality has been faltering, or not faltering, but it's fluctuating. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It really depends with which model you're working with. This one appears to be decent, although it arrived broken, so definitely a bit more risk when buying this model. But still, I like this model. The livery looks great, the details look great, so therefore I recommend this model to other collectors who want one. It's a beautiful aircraft. I do like the livery, like I just said. And even though it's a little bit risky with the quality, I don't think it should be too terrible. Now, I don't know if this thing sold out yet or not, but if this model in particular did sell out, do not worry, because at the time of filming this video, there is also another JetBlue A321 in the new JetBlue livery that NG has just released, although it's not the new mint tail, it's the spotlight tail, which is slightly different from this one. I will do a review on that one as well, because it is actually on its way to my location as we speak, so stay tuned for that. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to leave your feedback down below. If you didn't like it, please leave your feedback down below. I'm glad to hear that. And that's all I have for you today. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more model airplane content. Happy building, happy collecting. See you guys next time.